We're ready in the back.
Okay, and I was bothering Jane. So Jane, are we ready in the front? Okay, Commissioner Yamamoto, can we do a quick sound check before we officially begin?
Yeah, I've been listening to you, so that's great, but you look pretty lonely there.
I'm thankful I have people in the room with me today, because otherwise it would be very lonely here with both you and
There you
Commissioner
go.
Bell not in the area, so. Okay, I think then we can hear you, you can hear us, we're gonna go ahead and get started. You ready, Jane? Okay, perfect. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. You can join today's board meeting via phone, dial 971-254-3149, conference ID 736-023-979#. Audio capabilities are listen only and are offered on a best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us by going online to tctvonline.com and click on live broadcasts. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to public comments at co.tillamook.or.us. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online for the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email publiccomments@co.tillamook.or.us by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners Office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. Okay, do we have anyone signed up in the room for public comment?
We do. We have one, and we have one person online.
One online. Okay, thank you. Perfect. Okay, well, I would invite everyone in the room to please sign the guest list if they have not done that yet. I will acknowledge that I am in the room by myself today. For those watching on the television, Commissioner Yamamoto is joining us remotely, and Commissioner Bell is out of the office this week at an emergency management conference. So it will be just Commissioner Yamamoto and myself, and again, I'll be at the dais alone. So this you're going to see a lot of me today as Jane points the camera. Okay, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public comments, and we do have one in the room and one online. Let's start with our public comment in the room, if we may. Good morning. If you could state your name and area of residence for the record, and we'll have 2 minutes for your comment today.
Thank you. My name is Tiffany Jacob. I'm from Tillamook, and I'm here to speak about the upcoming conference that you guys are deciding on for the librarian to attend. I am wholeheartedly against this. I believe it is a misuse of taxpayer dollars. The content that will be provided in this conference is extremely woke. It does not represent a huge portion of the county. And I would specifically like to speak on the LGBTQIA+ picture book focus of the conference. We don't need that in our libraries. Children do not need sexuality and gender affirmation or anything of that nature at that age. They don't need picture books on this. I have 3 little boys, ages 5, 3, and 6 months, and my kids don't need to see stuff like that. There was an entire pride display. It's inappropriate for small children. If you want to be doing that for older kids that are having questioning thoughts at that age, that's fine. I personally think that should be kept out of public libraries because it is something that healthcare professionals and their families should be addressing, and that should be up to them. It should not be just out there on display for everyone to see, because we do have a major mental health crisis with our youth these days because of public indoctrination with this type of material. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, we have an online comment, and there we go. Good morning. Would you go ahead? We know you, but if you could state your name and area of residence for the record, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Yes, hello, I'm April Bailey from Mescalin. I'm assuming you can hear me, so I'm gonna go ahead
We
on my
can.
comments.
We can hear you, yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Scar. So my comment is also about the library travel request for our director of our library. And I am in full agreement with Tiffany's comment, but I also want to give a little more information. First of all, there's very limited financial information on this request. So far, it's just the conference cost. I'm assuming he's going to travel. It's not all online, so that's one of the problems. Number 2, again, it doesn't encourage our values of most of this county. Let me read you some of the sectionals in this conference. Besides the promoting diverse LGBTQ picture books, we have such ones as leaning into international career development. So I guess to train our librarian to go to a different country. Protecting access to reproductive health, that's important to them. Here's some other buzzwords in the sectionals in the titles. Literacy justice, achieving equity, DEI capacity, making DEI a core part of services, net zero sustainability of library building, inclusion of justice-involved individuals. This is about helping criminals in the library. Critical visual literacy. This is all basically a religion of wokeism. I would not expect you guys to pay for my mission trip to a different country to apostolize. And I kind of don't want taxpayer money, nor do I think the county should be paying for any kind of religious training, which is what this is. It's very much about helping the library to evangelize our community into wokeism. And it just doesn't represent our values. Our librarian, who I believe is pretty new to our area, should spend more time, not just the few listening sessions the library has done for the contingency plan they're making, getting to know our community, not spending more time in Chicago with the very liberal, not very representative of Tillamook County American Library Association. Also, I really, again, ask Commissioner Scar that the commissioners consider changing a couple of their meetings a month to a time that other people can attend. And I also am very concerned about the substance abuse program that you're looking at, because it's a re-education of school children and their values without parent input. So that's all I would like to say today.
Thank you, April. Okay, that finishes our public comments. So we will move on. We do not have any non-agenda items today. So we will move right into our consent calendar. Item number 5 is a change of ownership, limited on-premise liquor license application for Grateful Bread Bakery and Restaurant. Number 6 is the annual liquor license renewal applications for Bayside Market, Beaver Shell, Bunkhouse Restaurant, By the Sea Grocery, Cape Kiwanda RV Resort, Center Market number 26, Chester's Hometown, Headlands Coastal Lodge and Spa, Inn at Cape Kiwanda, Kelly's Bright Marina, Meg Pie's Bakery Cafe, and Halem Shell, Neskowin Beach Golf Course, Nestucca Bay Creamery Cheese Shop, Pacific City Shell, Pacific Oyster, Pelican Pub, River House Nestucca, Rosanna's Sand Lake Grocery, the Orr House Bar and Grill, the Schooner Restaurant and Lounge, Upstairs Bar and Grill, Tillamook Cheese Factory. So Commissioner, I think we would take a motion on our consent agenda.
Thank you. Just a quick question for Fifth Sergeant. So, Bill, if we just approve the consent calendar, will that include both items 5 and 6?
It will, David, thank you.
Yes, it will. Sorry, Rachel sneezed on top of the answer.
Yeah, that was,
Perfect, okay.
yeah.
So with that, Madam Chair, I would move approval of the consent calendar.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, we will move on to our legislative administrative agenda, and that is item number 7. Discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of changing customer and franchise rates for municipal solid waste, yard debris, and commingled recycling disposal at the Tillamook, Manzanita, and Pacific City transfer stations. And we have with us today David McCall, our solid waste program manager. Good morning, David.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. So each year, we look at the rates that we charge at our transfer stations for various disposal items. As you mentioned, it's not only trash, but also yard debris and so anything that we charge for. And each year we look at the annual CPI, so the Consumer Price Index, for the Western region. And I emphasize this because it's a little bit different depending on which CPI you look at, nationally or regional or for urban or rural. You know, they used to have the Salem-Portland region, which they no longer have. That's why we use the Western region. And for determining our rates that we pay to Averill Recycling for hauling away the trash, so operating the transfer station, hauling away the trash, and disposing of it at the Coffin Butte landfill, we have an agreement that we use the CPI for the Western region of January each year, which is published in February, and we account for 80% of that. So this year, the CPI came out to 6.3% in that report, and 80% of that is approximately 5%, 4.95 or 4.97, something like that. So 5% for easier calculation and remember. And so because that is our actual cost increase, that is what we're building our budget on, and the Solid Waste Advisory Committee is supportive of changing our rates on a tonnage basis across the board to reflect that 5% increase. And then what you see also is some minor tweaks. So with the minimum fee, it's calculated basically at Tillamook 400 pounds. And because the tonnage rate changes, the minimum fee changes a little bit to come in line with that. And we keep the minimum fees at even dollar amounts. So the tonnages rates, like for example, this new self-haul rate for trash at the Tillamook transfer station will be $114.23. But the minimum fee is $25 even. So there's a little bit, you know, that may be a little bit different than the 5%. It might be 4.5%, it might be 5.5%, but it's just in the interest of keeping those minimum fees at even numbers. So this is, the Solid Waste Advisory Committee discussed this at their March 14th meeting and unanimously supported this increase. So this is an increase, like I said, in the fees that we charge that are based on a tonnage rate. So for for municipal solid waste or trash, for yard debris, and for commingled recycling. The abandoned RV rate, we are keeping the same. We still consider that a trial program, which we're hoping that we're actually gonna have more units come through it this next year. So we'll have a better basis moving forward in the future to make adjustments with that. So with that, that is what you have before you, is the rates which would go into effect July 1st of this year. So we operate on a fiscal year basis for rates.
Thank you, David. Commissioner Yamamoto, questions or comments?
Well, we hate to see rates going up, especially at a 5% clip, but inflation has been quite high this year. It has been. It's hopefully on its way down. But I appreciate very much the SWAC, the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. They do great work. They really do. And this was a unanimous decision by the SWAC, and so I would be in full support here.
Thank you, and I agree. Well, we would like to keep things, our fees to the public as low as we can. They have to cover the expenses that are underneath the service we provide. And this is something, unfortunately, the county is not immune to inflation. And for those who have heard us talk before about our revenues of the county, we have to charge for what we do in many of our departments. The solid waste department is in fact a special revenue fund. It operates without general fund of any kind. It has to absolutely cover its costs in order to provide a service. So with that in mind, I don't think we have a lot of choices other than to keep pace with the market, just as any business would keep pace with the market in this particular case. So, I think that it just simply is a need to happen situation. So thank you, I appreciate you bringing it forward, Commissioner. I'm ready for, Jim.
So I would mention with this that when we do this, we're always a little bit behind the ball, behind the curve on it. Last year was the first time, and I think it was 3 or 4 years, that we adjusted rates. Because of COVID, we didn't know what was happening, even though inflation went up during COVID as well, not as much. I think we were looking at 12%, which we should have increased last year. And we increased by 6.2, I believe. And as we recall, inflation last year was something like 8.1%. So now we're looking at 5. So we really try to keep it down there and only what we actually have to reflect our costs.
Yeah, we appreciate that, and recognizing that volume drives the ability to keep the cost down, which is the other reason I assume that your franchise haulers have a lesser fee than your self-haulers, because there is, again, that piece, it's economy of scale.
Right.
And so as you are doing more, receiving more trash, yard waste and recyclables, then you're able to charge a little less perhaps in the city. So I appreciate that. Okay, Commissioner, I believe we are ready for a motion.
Thank you very much, and thank you, David, for that continuing explanation. Madam Chair, in consideration of an order in the matter of changing customer franchise rates for municipal solid waste, yard debris, and commingled recycling disposal at the Tillamook, Manzanita, and Pacific City transfer stations. This is board order number 23-009, and Solid Waste Service District order number 23-001. I would move approval.
I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item number 8, discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of transferring the ownership of the collection franchise for solid waste collection franchisee, Nestucca Valley Sanitary Service. David McCall, Solid Waste Program Manager.
So section 4.15 of solid waste ordinance number 4 requires that any change in a franchise ownership or the ownership of franchise be approved by the Board of County Commissioners. And Nestucca Valley Sanitary Service is still owned by the same company, which is Nestucca Valley Garbage Recycling. But the owner of that company, Eleanor Dye, passed away in December of 2022. And so now that has been transferred to her daughter, Sandy Dye. And so this is a formal recognition of the transfer of that ownership of the company. Their attorney sent us a letter explaining what would happen. The Solid Waste Advisory Committee reviewed this and discussed it at the meeting on March 14th and wholeheartedly recommended that the board approve this transfer.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Yamamoto, questions or comments?
No, it's very sad that Eleanor passed away, but her daughter Sandy is more than capable. She's really had her fingers in this business for a lot of years also. So I am in full support here.
Okay, thank you. And I agree. I think it is a formality that we need to know who, in fact, who is owning the company that we are contracting with, even though the company is the same company. And so I think it's appropriate and I'm in support. So do we have a motion, Commissioner?
Madam Chair, consideration of an order in the matter of transferring the ownership of the collection franchise for solid waste collection franchise in the Nestucca Valley Sanitary Service. This is board order number 23-010, same Solid Waste Service District order number 23-001. I would move approval.
And I would second. Oops. David just indicated this is,
Should be Solid Waste Service 2 because you just have one. Is that correct?
Well, I'm looking at something that I got from the office this morning,
So the
and
board
it does say that the Solid Waste Service District numbers are the same.
they are
If
both.
we need to change that, I'd be more than happy to.
Do we know? They're not online, but the first one that we just did was 001. Is that,
Yeah.
Deb?
I got an email from Isabel this morning, and she indicated they were both the same
Okay.
solid waste. That's all I know.
Okay. Okay, so if I'm understanding that, we have confirmed that they are both Solid Waste Service District number 23-001, as Isabel has confirmed that, although it seems confusing to us somehow in her system. So,
You give them the numbers, Rach, not me.
Let's make it two, and we can correct at a later date if that's
Okay.
inaccurate, but there should not be two orders that are the same.
okay, so this will be,
I agree with Rachel on
okay, do we need to restate the motion?
that. Yeah.
Would you, Commissioner, please restate the motion with that being order number 2?
So, Madam Chair, in consideration of an order in the matter of transferring the ownership of the collection franchise for solid waste collection franchisee, the Stuckert Valley Sanitary Service. This is board order number 23-010, Solid Waste Service District order number 23-002. I would move approval.
Okay, I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, thank you, and thank you for that on-the-fly correction. Okay, moving on to item number 9, discussion and consideration of modification number 20 to agreement number 3491, professional services agreement with Don G. Agro Recycling, Inc., transfer station operation, transport and disposal for processing of solid waste. Well, David, you're still with us. David McCall.
You just can't get rid of me. So this is, as I explained earlier, our contract with Don Agro Recycling for the operation of the Tillamook Transfer Station includes the operation as well as the hauling and disposal costs of the trash that we receive at the transfer station. And that is set up with the January CPI each year and taking into account 80% of that. So this is a price change effective July 1st, for which we pay Agro Recycling for the operation of the transfer station and hauling and disposal of our trash from the transfer station. It's a little wordy because all these numbers are very exact and are repeated multiple times, but the essence is we have added that 5% onto the rates that we pay them.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Yamamoto, questions or comments?
I don't have any questions or comments. This is one of those necessary services, not necessarily that would come from the county, but that's how our system has been worked for many, many years. But I think everyone in the county would agree that this is an essential service. Somebody within the county needs to provide. And I think the county's been doing a great job of overseeing this with the private companies that we're dealing with. So I am in full support.
Perfect, thank you. Would be ready for a motion because I agree as well.
Madam Chair, consideration of modification number 20 to agreement number 3491, professional services agreement with Don G. Agro Recycling, Inc., transfer station operation, transport and disposal for processing of solid waste. I would move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, and David is just sitting at that table, but I'm so thankful he brought up a fresh face with him. For item number 10, Oregon Department of Forestry announcement of the 2023 Yard Debris Program dates and introduction of Walter Weibel,
very good.
Weibel, Permanent Forest Officer, Oregon Department of Forestry. We have David and we have Walter. Good morning.
Good morning. Each year Tillamook County enters a burn ban on July 15th. As a result of the burn ban going into effect, Tillamook residents of Tillamook County are no longer able to burn their yard debris, which can result in increased amounts of burnable material being located on residents' properties. To help with this issue and reduce the likelihood of escape debris pile burning, ODF and Tillamook County Solid Waste Department have created the Tillamook Yard Debris Program. The Yard Debris Program began in 2013 with funding from Title III and provide Tillamook County residents with free disposal of yard debris at Tillamook, Manzanita, and Pacific City transfer stations. Acceptable yard debris items include tree limbs, leaves, yard and lawn clippings, branches, twigs, shrubs, weeds, wood debris, and rose clippings. Unacceptable items are tree stumps, they're just too big, household trash, plastic bags, dirt with sod. If someone wishes to take part in this program, they simply need to obtain a yard debris voucher, which are available at any county fire station. David has some examples here. Available at any county fire department or at the Oregon Department of Forestry office located at 5005 3rd Street here in Tillamook. The vouchers can be used at Tillamook, Manzanita, and Pacific City transfer stations to dispose of your yard debris free of charge. With an additional $20,000 we received this year from Keep Oregon Green, we're able to keep our program open from March 30th through October 31st.
Wonderful, thank you. David, did you have any comments you wanted to add?
You did a great job.
Not at all.
Can't
All
say
right,
anything.
wonderful. Commissioner Yamamoto, questions or comments?
Yeah, just a comment here. This has been a wildly successful program in Tillamook County. It really has been. It's almost to the point where we run out of those little receipts or whatever we give out. We have them available in the commissioner's office, and they are available in other areas also. But it's keeping so much yard debris out of wherever it normally would pile up, which is terrific. Burning it is one thing, which is fine. There are smoke issues, but disposing of them properly. And David McCall, we appreciate very much you being involved in this program also to accept that yard debris. So to Mr. Weigel and to Mr. McCall, we thank you very much, and I am in full support here.
Absolutely, I agree. We found out just how popular this program was about 2 years ago, right when I started as a commissioner, when we ran out of resources to back this program. And spring sprung, and we were not able to provide the vouchers that everyone was used to receiving, and they were very, very unhappy. So we got a lot of calls. I know you did in the offices there, and we did at the commissioner's office. So we do know how important this program is, because absolutely from the fire side of things, it really encourages people not to stack their yard debris, which, you know, we don't think of ourselves as being high fire danger, but we learned a couple of years ago that in fact we face the same fire danger as the rest of the state. And as we have drier spells during the summer, our forests get drier than any of us would like to think. So this becomes even more important, as it helps people just really keep the areas around their homes clean, which is with a direction that so much fire prevention work is going at this point. I've been watching some bills move through the legislature and conversations there around the FireWise program, which is a wonderful program that this, I believe, is a piece of, but other things about hardening your home in fire areas, and one of those key pieces is clearing up the yard waste and tree limbs and different things around your home that could provide for just a really quick and hot pathway for fire. So while this is a program that people love because they get a free voucher to get rid of it, it's really backed by some extremely important work. So we appreciate you coming before us today, and we appreciate that there's other funding available out there as well. So,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Commissioner, I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of the Oregon Department of Forestry announcement.
Just an announcement?
We're so,
Sorry, this one doesn't say discussion, it just, or consideration. So I think it is just an informational item. We don't have to approve, sorry. I was looking for it to say.
If you'd like to, you can.
We're in solid approval of you for getting additional money to make sure this opens in March, so.
You already
apparently we don't
approved the
need a
funding
motion.
for it last year.
Okay, apparently we don't need a motion. You can see we've got a cadence here. So again, Walter, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming to introduce yourself, and appreciate the program.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 11, which is discussion and consideration of an out-of-state travel request for Ronald Algier to attend the 2023 American Library Association Annual Conference and Exhibition in Chicago, Illinois, from June 23rd through June 27th of 2023. And we have Don Algier, our library director, here with us. Good morning, Don.
good morning, Doug.
Good morning, how are you today?
Good, thank you.
Great. Well, I have before you a ask for out-of-state travel request to go to the American Library Association in Chicago. And I'm only looking in this instance for support for the conference attendance. This is an opportunity to talk with vendors from around the country who already are supporting work here at our library, but they're kind of all in one place, so it's really convenient to do that. I'm also the organization and bylaws chair for the core division of the American Library Association, so I'll be doing some work around that. And then there's also over 200 plus educational programs that are there for supporting libraries. I think the version that came through with the request was very much the preliminary agenda for the conference, but what you'll find is that there are a vast number of programs that support things including health programming, school readiness kits, arts in the library, digital literacy. So, you know, the American Library Association is a representation of libraries across the country. 15 to 20,000 librarians from across the country attend the programs there and help to support libraries throughout the country, rural, urban, etc. So I'm looking forward to the conference and hope you'll support the travel request.
Thank you, Don. Commissioner Yamamoto, questions or comments?
I do have a question here, and that's the travel authorization. Now, the only thing you're asking for at this point is the airfare.
No.
This does not include hotel and registration, things of that nature. Am I not seeing everything?
It's just registration. There's no airfare or hotel. I'm covering that on my own.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So you're going to cover this yourself?
Yeah, outside of the registration. Yeah.
And I just asked why you're doing that?
Yeah, so I'm planning to tack a couple days on the end of the trip with my daughter who is graduating from high school this year. And so it was easier for me to just take care of those parts of the trip so there's no confusion about the public versus private interest in that and the money. So.
Wow. To me, Don, that's above and beyond. It is. But if that's the way you would like to work this, I can support that fully. You know, one thing that people need to understand in the community is that these types of conferences are so important to operating, in this instance, and operating a library. I know the commissioners do quite a bit of traveling, NACO and AOC and things of that nature. Yes, it can be fun, but there's so much work involved in this. We learn so much. The old adage goes, you know, why reinvent the wheel when there are associations like the American Library Association and NACO, National Association of Counties. We have quite a few employees in the county that do attend conferences and work sessions outside of the county. And it's really important to learn what the best practices are throughout the country and sometimes around the world. You can do these things virtually. I think we found during the pandemic that virtual attendance does work when that's about the only option you have available. Being face-to-face with someone, actually getting to know that person from across the country, being able to shake hands with so many of your peers, this is really important work. It is. And so I would be in full support of your travel request. I'm not sure I would do it this way, but Don, you're a big boy, and you can certainly determine how you would like to travel. But I appreciate very much your dedication. You're doing a great job with the library, from what I see. So I'm in full support. I mean, our library directors have always attended this conference, I believe, over the years. And it's important work. I mean, you may or may not agree with every item that they put on the agenda at these events. But just having that experience, talking to your other peers about how they are doing things, how they are looking at all the different agenda items at the American Library Association Annual Conference. It is really important. So Don, thank you for what you're doing, and I am in full support here.
Thank you, Commissioner. I see, Sean, that you popped on, and I have a question. I don't know if you can answer that. But because this is work-related travel, are we able to allow him to pay for his own travel? I guess I'm questioning from a BOLI perspective, someone who is traveling for work, if we're actually allowed to not reimburse their travel.
In the past, we have not reimbursed them if they have chosen that. I popped on to question why there was no hotel, no airfare, no nothing, and Dawn answered that question. I would maybe defer to Jody and ask her if BOLI has any issues with him. I mean, he'd still be getting paid for his time there, his work.
Sure.
You know, and then if he's taking extra time, he's got his vacation, personal, whatever days to use. So no, he answered my questions, but I'll defer to Jody as far as BOLI questions.
Okay, and I don't know that Jody, oh, there she is. Thank you, Jody. Could you address that for me? I would just like to make sure we're not running afoul of any laws.
I think because it's a combination of personal and business, I think there is a little bit of, I'm going to say discretion. So it is a combined, I'm taking extra time on one end or the other. If it was a straight business trip without the personal vacation, I think that would look a little bit differently. So with that, again, I think there's some discretion on how we view that, and Dawn, what you're comfortable with.
Thank you, Jody. I appreciate that. Again, I wanted to make sure we weren't running afoul of any of the laws. The Bureau of Labor and Industries in Oregon has some very specific rules regarding if you are traveling to a workplace other than your regular workplace, that we do pay for that travel, and that is required. So it's just one of those important things for us to make sure we're not running afoul.
Yes.
So the state of Oregon has a lot of rules.
This one gets more complex because there is probably a second person in the hotel, and there is a second airfare, and congratulations on your daughter graduating. That's a wonderful trip. But I think that's the complexity there is Dawn's leaning on the side of ethics of saying, I'm bringing my daughter, and so I respect his decision on that. We are paying for his conference attendance.
Perfect, thank you. I am in full support. I just wanted to make sure we were on the right path for that. There were a lot of comments made a couple of comments made this morning regarding some of the topics at the library conference. I think that Commissioner Yamamoto did a great job of talking about best practices, about peer interactions, and things that are really important about attending conferences. We need to make sure that our library operates in the best possible way, and attending this conference is a way that we do that. I would, however, like to make a quick comment regarding some of the things that were addressed in the room in relation to having diverse materials in our library. And I would like to assure folks in the community that it is our desire to have everyone who lives in our community see themselves reflected in the work that is available in our library. And I understand for some people it's uncomfortable to have materials about certain topics, and I invite them and encourage them to simply not view the materials that are uncomfortable for them, or perhaps if it's for their children, you as a parent are in control of what your child gets from the library, and I understand and completely respect if those topics are not something you want for your child. Please take the opportunity to make sure your child sees what you want them to see, but please understand and respect that Tillamook County is a diverse county, and everyone should have the right to see themselves reflected in the literature of our library. So I just wanted to take an opportunity to address that. Thank you very much, and I think that we are ready for a motion.
Chair, in consideration of an out-of-state travel request for Donald Elgier to attend the 2023 American Library Association Annual Conference and Exhibition in Chicago, Illinois, June 23rd and June 27th. I would move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Commissioners.
Thank you, Don. Okay, we are moving on to item 12, which is discussion and consideration of a third amendment to the Granicus Service Agreement with Granicus LLC for short-term rental program online services. We have Sarah Absher, our Director of Department of Community Development, with us this morning. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. For the record, my name is Sarah Absher. I'm the Director of Community Development. Before you is essentially a renewal to continue services with Granicus. Granicus is our company that we partner with largely with software support for code enforcement of short-term rentals. New additions to that this last year was the 24/7 hotline that we are getting ready to implement. And also we are continuing to work through the tax collection online payment portal. So before you is just a request for signature so we can continue to pay them to do that work for us.
Wonderful, thank you. Questions or comments, Commissioner Yamamoto?
No, they've been kind of a godsend to us. This company has been doing great work. I think they changed their name somewhere along the line. I don't remember them as Granicus, but I think they've been Granicus now for at least a couple of years. But no, again, they're invaluable to Tillamook County, especially community development, since community development is where our short-term rental program is based. They do terrific work, as I think a lot of the people in the community understand that, we've got to have a full understanding of who is out there with vacation rentals, things of that nature. I think we originally brought them on because they did a lot of research, scanned the World Wide Web, as it were, looking for unlicensed vacation rentals in Tillamook County. And again, their work there was terrific. Now we're branching off into other agreements with Granicus, and I am in full support here.
Perfect, thank you, and I am in support as well. Having the pleasure of sitting on the Short-Term Rental Advisory Committee and really hearing from people what is important to them. Having Granicus on board is crucial. We know that they have been serving as our internet sleuth, if you will, and identifying properties that are renting, that are advertising renting, that do not have a license through us, and certainly hearing from our community, unlicensed rentals are a huge concern, so I think the service they provide really helps us keep our hands around that. And then we are looking to add a 1-800 complaint number for our short-term rentals, also through Granicus, which will allow us to have those calls go to a call center 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Someone always will answer and provide a response, which will include getting in touch with the owner and making sure that there is response to the complaint at the moment. So they are really providing some services that we need for our short-term rental industry to operate in the best possible way so that it can be that portion of one of the legs on our stool for our economy without destroying our community livability. So I'm excited to have them coming on board with the additional service as well. Okay, I think we're ready for a motion, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, consideration of a third amendment to the Granicus Service Agreement with Granicus LLC for short-term rental program online services. I would move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Item number 13, discussion and consideration of amendment number 3, the intergovernmental co-location agreement with Oregon Department of Transportation at Wilson River Communication Site. We have John Spence, our Communications System Administrator, with us today. Good morning, John.
Morning, Commissioners. Can you hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
John Spence, Tillamook County, for the record. Before you for discussion and consideration, we have a third amendment to Agreement 4395 with the ODOT Wireless Group. ODOT Wireless actually owns this site on Wilson River. We are part of a consortium between Tillamook PUD, 911, and ourselves to house our radio equipment there. So we kind of go in as a group to get a better rate. The land is actually owned by, or managed by ODF, so we had to jump through some hoops to get everybody on the same page, but this has been reviewed by County Council and the contract officer and is ready for your discussion and consideration this morning.
Perfect, thank you. Questions or comments, Commissioner Yamamoto?
Now, this is something that we need to do. John, I appreciate all the work you do to keep our communication system in Tillamook County up and running. I do want to point out one thing. This is when I was in Medford for the Oregon California Timberlands meeting, of which I'm a board member. I had a call from John Spence, and this is when we were in our Snowmageddon. And one of our main towers is up at Mount Hebo, and a new generator. I think it was less than a year old, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
You had a power failure during that Snowmageddon, and our system went down up at Mount Hebo because the generator failed to come on. John did a lot of work up there. He really did. I mean, he's like an Eskimo, I think, doing all sorts of traveling up there, working with Public Works, our own Public Works Department, and many others to find a way up there to see what the problem was. We found out that generator was seized up, almost new generator, and we needed power up there. We needed backup power. So, John, I don't know how many trips you made up and back, John, but you were going through 5 feet of snow, and it was incredible. It really was. But we got that system back operational again, which we appreciate. We were down one of our comms up there, I think, for a short period of time also. So again, I just appreciate all you do to keep our communication systems working, even through a Snowmageddon that we had in Tillamook County not long ago. So getting back to this amendment number 3, I am in full support.
Excellent, thank you. As am I. Our radio system, I don't know, we probably say this every time something comes up, but I always feel like there may be somebody watching who wasn't before, and we should remind folks or let folks know that the emergency radio communications system for 911, Public Works across the county, law enforcement is owned and maintained by the county. And this is obviously a crucial resource. It's not something that we can allow to go down. So having this co-location agreement is really an important aspect to making sure that we keep our communications running and that we have our towers where we need them. So, John, you do a great job. You are a one-man show, just keeping this going, working with a lot of equipment that is not necessarily brand new and requires a bit of love and care on a regular basis to keep us up, and we appreciate that work. So, and I appreciate the work with these folks. I think we are ready for a motion, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, consideration of amendment number 3 to intergovernmental co-location agreement with Oregon Department of Transportation at Wilson River Communications Site. I would move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Move on to item number 14, which is discussion and consideration of a comprehensive opioid, stimulant, and substance abuse program grant, and I will present this. So, the county has the opportunity to support and serve as a backbone for this grant. We've spoken before at commissioner meetings about the Our Tillamook Group, which is the opioid response group that has already been operating in Tillamook County for about 4 years. And that group started with a grant from SAMHSA. Please don't ask me the letters, I won't get them right, but it's Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration, I believe. And that grant served as an opportunity to start with as a planning grant for Tillamook County to look deeply at our numbers related to opioid use, opioid overdose, and death from opioids, as well as what treatments and responses we had. We did a full plan with that said if we had the money, these are the pieces that we would undertake. We then received an operating grant also under SAMHSA, where we began to do that work. And the team that's part of our Tillamook includes our hospital and actually all of our medical providers, including the hospital, the public health, the clinics through the health department, the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy, Tillamook Family Counseling. We have our Columbia Pacific CCO folks that sit with us, as well as our law enforcement agencies are a part of that group. Our nonprofits and social service agencies across the county are part of that group. So it's a very comprehensive look at how we respond to opioid use disorder and substance use disorder in our county. That grant is wrapping up, the SAMHSA grant. So what we were looking for is what's the next step for us as we want to continue to incorporate and activate that plan. And this grant is one that was actually brought to the group by Nick Troxel from the Tillamook City Police Department. He said, hey, I found another potential funding source to keep us moving forward. So the trick with that is that we needed a backbone agency who could apply for that, and that is the role that the county is taking. Is we are taking a role as the applicant. We will continue to work with the Our Tillamook group to actually do the work. The work of this grant is a number of different things. The two key pieces of this are that it will provide the crisis response training that is needed for our local law enforcement so that they have the tools at the ready and the understanding when they arrive at a crisis that includes substance use disorder and mental health. They will have training in a crisis response process. That is a best practice that has been rolled out in many, many areas across the state and the nation. And I'm very excited that Chief Rao from the Tillamook City Police is I believe a trainer for crisis intervention training, and he will be working on that with law enforcement. This grant helps to pay for that. The other big piece in this grant is a drug prevention program to be rolled out in the school districts. One of the things that we know right now is that on our streets, the drugs that are out there are extremely, extremely dangerous. And our kids don't necessarily know that. And as our kids are going out in the world and trying to find their way and looking to say, you know, what might I experiment with, the world is actually deadly instead of just dangerous. And so having these programs in our schools to help educate our kids about what drugs are out there, what the impacts are of those drugs, and just other ways they can enjoy their life, right? Some very positive ways to think about their mental health and their well-being that don't require them to reach out to drugs as an answer. So the program is provided through the Hazelton Betty Ford Center, which is a very well-known center. The program, as I understand it, is already starting in one of our schools, and this will add the other two schools as well as continue to pay for the curriculum and training for the school that it's already in. So this is, again, a great opportunity for us to continue the work in our community, to have our law enforcement be prepared for the response, and our kids hopefully never take that deadly pill. So I feel very strongly about this program and its worth for our community. It is a federal grant. It is for $1 million over 3 years. And we certainly hope that we will be successful. Adventist Health is a great partner on this. They actually have a grant writing company they work with who has written this grant for us with input from the members of our Tillamook. So what I'm looking for today is approval for the county to act as that backbone and for Rachel to submit this grant. Questions, Commissioner Yamamoto, or comments?
You did a great job in explaining this. This is something we don't like to think about in Tillamook County. It's just not. But we absolutely have a drug abuse problem in Tillamook County. And we can't ignore it. We can't. We have to have programs, educational programs, and treatment programs, and ways for kids to understand they're dealing with dangerous products. We have other issues in Oregon, which I think are related to this, such as Measure 110, where basically the state of Oregon and the people in the state of Oregon, this was a ballot measure. The people in the state of Oregon very narrowly passed Measure 110, which basically took away all of the issues of people possessing drugs, any kind of drugs. Do I think that was the wisest thing that the people of Oregon ever did? I personally don't think so. But it was a ballot measure and it did pass. So that's something we have to deal with. I think that's one of the reasons, not just in Tillamook County, but across the state of Oregon, we have seen an increase in substance abuse. We have. And that's not a good thing. but we can't ignore it. It won't just go away by itself. These are programs that are going to assist, especially our youth, and that's where, like you, Commissioner Square, I feel that we need to be very diligent here and try to make sure that if kids are going to try these illicit substances when they're young, they have to come to understand that this is not something they want to mess with moving forward. These types of programs are invaluable. Again, I would also like to ignore the problem, but the only way I could ignore the problem is if the problem actually goes away. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. So this is an invaluable program for Tillamook County, one that we really need. We can't ignore this issue in Tillamook County because it is there. It is there, and we can't ignore it. So I am in full support.
Thank you. I think we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, consideration of a comprehensive opioid stimulant and substance abuse program grant. I would move to.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item number 15, discussion and consideration of an intergovernmental agreement with Portland State University for professional services. Rachel Haggerty, Chief of Staff.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So building upon Oregon State University's completion of the county-wide external strategic plan, the county is now commencing on an internal strategic plan that's going to focus on how the county operates as a governing body, employer, and service provider. We will be collaborating with Portland State University's Mark O. Hatfield School of Government Center for Public Service. That's a mouthful. They are experts in this work and recently completed a successful planning process with Clatsop County, and they're continuing to use, Clatsop County is continuing to use their services as they go through amendments and any other needs that they've identified. So before you today is an intergovernmental agreement with Portland State University, and it will serve as a 3-year umbrella agreement under which individual task orders will be identified and come to you at later dates to be approved. The initial scope of work, so the umbrella agreement describes activities that may be completed through this process, including professional and leadership training with our departments and staff, organizational assessment and development. This could also include improvements in culture, logo, mission, etc., program and service effectiveness and evaluation, strategic planning, citizen and community engagement, policy analysis and research, talent development, and financial planning. And so this is the umbrella agreement. I expect the first task order to come to you in a couple of weeks, and it will be a situation assessment of sorts, which will be a fact-finding mission that identifies what's working well, what is not working well at the county, and then starts the next step of where we're going to go from there. So there's a lot of pieces that need to be done for the whole strategic plan, and it's a little daunting to think of all those pieces that will be informed by the earlier pieces. And so in our discussions with PSU, they thought having this umbrella agreement and then biting off the steps in chunks through task orders was a good approach. And so Commissioner Scar and I have been talking with them, and we also agree with that being a good approach. And so this idea is ready for consideration.
Thank you, Rachel. Do you have questions or comments, Commissioner Yamamoto? More team.
Thank you. Yeah, when I'm not there, you forget all about me, don't you?
And I forgot your name already, sorry. You on the TV, do you have some comments?
I just want to thank Rachel for really taking on this additional project. This is something that the county's been talking about for a long time, doing the strategic planning and becoming more efficient, and involvement of the public outreach. This is all really important, and we keep saying we're going to do it, and we haven't. But a great example has been PSU's work with Clatsop County. And they've done great work there. Again, why reinvent the wheel when we know that they're good at what they do, and Clatsop County is very happy with their relationship with PSU. I think this is great. Again, exactly what programs and things we're going to ask PSU to help us with are yet to be determined. But I think Rachel has a really good grasp of what's going on here and what we need to do as far as strategic planning goes. So again, I am absolutely in full support here.
Perfect, thank you, as am I. I've had the pleasure of working with Rachel on this as we have looked at how do we structure a strategic plan for the county. This is something, as Commissioner Yamamoto referred to, that has been looked at for many years in trying to find the right process, the right consultant to help us, and the right time frame in which to do it. So as we come out of COVID and we really look at what have we learned in COVID, how has it impacted the county and our operations, how has it impacted our community, what are the things that we should be focusing on going forward, this is the right time to do a strategic plan. And having identified PSU, very exciting. They will be working with both consultants as well as some graduate students to make it something that is affordable for us, something that is therefore attainable for us, and really to help us personalize this project for government. You know, their strategic planning is absolutely crucial. There's not a business out there, I don't think, that doesn't have a plan for how they will move forward into the future. That's how we become successful. And I think at the county, we don't have that visionary plan. We have worked with the Futures Council to survey our community and to understand what the people out there would like the county to look like, but we've not taken a step to say, how do we then actually evaluate the county and its effectiveness in relation to that and make our decisions both financially and in all other resources to align with where our county would like us to go. So it's big work, and that's why we're taking it in small bites. But I'm very excited. I want to thank Rachel for her work on this. Rachel and I have had many a brainstorming session where we have bounced ideas back and forward, trying to figure out how do we approach this? What does this look like? How do you eat this elephant? And one bite at a time is definitely the wisdom of the world that we are going to use. And I appreciate Rachel's willingness to just let me talk and listen, and then talk and listen back, and just fight with this until we got what we think is the right approach. So thank you for that, Rachel. Commissioner, I think we are ready for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In consideration of an intergovernmental agreement with Portland State University for professional services, I would move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Item number 16. Discussion and consideration of a letter of intent to purchase real property from Lindsay Emmon for tax foreclosed county-owned property previously offered at the February 13th, 2023 land sale auction. Parcel number 6, Township 1 North, Range 10 West, Section 0SCD, tax lot 5500. Rachel Haggerty, Chief of Staff.
This property is located in Barview. It is 0.06 acres. The minimum bid offered at the land sale auction in February was $1,500, and Mr. and Mrs. Emmons is offering $1,500. So it's ready for your consideration, upon which I would execute the deed to convey the property.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioner Yamamoto, questions or comments?
Well, again, I appreciate everything that Rachel and staff do to make sure that we get our foreclosed properties off of our backs, if you would, from the county. This is a very small lot. It is, and I think Lindsay Emmons has the next one also. Did not sell at the last land sale, but it's being offered now, and I think it's great.
Perfect, thank you. I'm in complete agreement. It's we don't want to hold on to pieces of property that we don't have a use for. We do, and I always say this every time, we do filter these through to see if they could be useful for any county purpose, including affordable housing, before we turn around and sell them. So these properties didn't sell at auction, and now we are moving through them as people are coming after auction with offers. So I appreciate that, and I think we are ready for a motion.
Chair, in consideration of a letter of intent to purchase real property from Lindsay Emmons for tax foreclosed county-owned property previously offered at the February 13, 2023 land sale auction, parcel number 6, Township 1N, Range 10 West, Section 05 CD, tax lot 5500. I would move approval.
And I would second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 17. Discussion and consideration of a letter of intent to purchase real property from Lindsay Emmons for tax foreclosed county-owned property previously offered at the February 13th, 2023 land sale auction. Parcel number 7, Township 1 North, Range 10 West, Section 05 CD, tax lot 5400. Rachel Haggerty.
This property is also located in Barview. It is 0.11 acres. Minimum bid at the auction was $1,500 and she is offering $1,500.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioner Yamamoto, further comments?
Perfect. No, I think I said all I needed to say about this sale previously.
Perfect, thank you, and I would just share that we definitely appreciate staff's work on this. It takes a lot of time to go through this process, and we couldn't do it with our staff. So I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a letter of intent to purchase real property from Lindsay Emmons for tax foreclosed county-owned property previously offered at the February 13, 2023 land sale auction, parcel number 7, Township 1N, Range 10 West, Section 05 CD, tax lot 5400. I would move approval.
I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 18, discussion and consideration of a land sale contract in favor of Eduardo P. Miranda for tax foreclosed county-owned property previously offered at the February 13th, 2023 land sale auction. Parcel number 1, Township 3N, Range 10W, Section 29AA, tax lot number 800. Rachel.
On March 1st, the board accepted the letter of intent from Mr. Miranda. This property is 0.11 acres in Manzanita. The minimum bid at auction was $80,000. He is proposing to purchase the property for $68,000, which by statute you can, because that is the 85% of the value of the last minimum bid. He has provided the $13,600 down and is looking to have a tax land installment contract in the amount of $54,400. So before you today is the tax land installment contract with that balance, monthly payments not to exceed 5 years at 10% interest. It's ready for your consideration. And if you're curious as to why you're signing this contract and not deeds that come after your approval of letter of intent, it's because a couple of years ago the board approved me as the property manager to sign deeds once you've accepted a letter of intent, but that's a little different situation with the contracts. So you won't see the deeds from the letters of intent that you just approved, but this is a tax land installment contract from the letter of intent that you've approved.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Questions or comments?
It's all in the paperwork, and I'm glad we have someone like Rachel to keep track of all that paperwork. Appreciate it so much. And I'm in full support.
Okay, I agree. Thank you very much. I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, consideration of a land sale contract in favor of Eduardo P. Miranda for tax foreclosed county-owned property previously offered at the February 13, 2023 land sale auction. Parcel number 1, Township 3N, Range 10W, Section 29AA, tax lot number 800. I would move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Commissioner, do you have any board concerns today?
Not today, thank you.
Okay, nor do I. So we will move on to our board announcements. The commissioners will hold the board briefing on Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023 at 2 p.m. to discuss weekly commissioner updates. The meeting will be held in the Board of Commissioners meeting room, number 106 in the Tillamook County Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon. The teleconference number is 1-971-254-3149, conference ID 736-023-979#. The Commissioners will attend the Tillamook Lightwave meeting on Tuesday, March 28, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. The teleconference number is 1-253-215-8782, conference ID 899-5732-9678. Okay, with that, I believe we've completed our agenda, and I will adjourn this meeting at 10, we're going into, we have an executive session. Thought I was done for the morning. Yes, I'm not. Okay, so I will recess this meeting into executive session at 10:09 a.m. Oh, yeah.
Can we ask what OAR we're going under?
You can. Rachel or Bill?
We're under 192.66028 to consult with counsel about litigation, and you're likely to be filed. That's the file we use to
Oh, thank you. So I am recessing. It's still at 10:09.
So can I ask, so we are going into